Hello, all my wonderful coloring friends, and welcome back to Pixie's Projects, or welcome in if you're new. I'm so glad you came to check us out. Today, we're going to work on some making up of backgrounds in Tiny Little Horrors by Glyn Dent, so stay tuned. Today's video has been requested by quite a few people, not specifically in this book, but I don't like images that are just like a person on a page and nothing happening. So I do spend a lot of time making backgrounds because I just don't like floating images. This is a personal preference. If you like them, that's great. I just don't. So what I'm going to do is show you what I've done. And I don't do terribly impressive backgrounds. I just add a few little things. Like this one has black and white stripes and little pink dots. It just highlights the image and doesn't just leave it sitting there on the page. And there are a few more in here. I have like lots of examples from other books, but I'm just going to work in here today. This one was done with Tim Holtz Distress ink and colored pencil and marker and nothing else, but it does stop her from floating so much. And then I have this one, which I've shown in a video this month for blood splatter and ooze, slime, however you want to put it. But this was enough for me. I still could have colored the background in, but I thought this looked good. So I stopped here. Today, we're going to color this page because David had an idea for a background on this one, and I thought, why not? He's right. It's a good one. So I'm going to show you kind of step by step how I go through the process, and we'll color the picture too, of course. But David's idea was that she looks like a vampire. Whether she is or not, she's now a vampire because it's our book and we can, you know, do whatever we want with it. So what I pulled out were, I have some Creative Memories ovals. And you can buy oval stencils anywhere. I just happen to own these, so I pulled them out. And I'm going to start our picture with this oval. I forgot my pencil. I was over here planning everything, and somehow that's where I left off, but I've got it now. So I'm going to kind of explain as I go, but I'm also going to just show as I go too. So I'm very lightly adding in some pencil wherever there is white in the image. So some of this is slightly behind her hair, and I'm going to really have to remember that. I do not have stencils that go inside of each other. I have this, but it makes it, the sides are thinner than the top and bottom. So I don't have another stencil. So what I need to do for my own self, and I will explain or show you what this is as we go, I'm going to draw in what is hopefully a fairly even oval on the inside, because it's, for me, easier to draw the inside oval once I have the outside oval than it is to draw the outside oval, if that makes sense. So that's my starter of my image. Then I'm going to take my pencil or my ruler and figure out where I think there could be a line to ground her so that she's on the ground and there's a wall. So that looks to be about here for me. Now, part of what I do that makes it look like normal, or like, you know, like there's, oh, it's definitely a wall and not just two colors of marker, is that I add a small area here to make like a baseboard. And what we have here is a vampire in the foreground, and in the background is going to be a wall and a floor, and then this is a big mirror behind her because it won't show her at all because she's a vampire. So that was David's idea, and I thought that was pretty banging, so we're doing that. I'm going to start with a Sharpie permanent marker in gold metallic because most of my gold paints and things are very shiny. And this one, and I'm hoping I do it justice, is just really dull. And I think that the mirror would be really old. I don't know why I've decided that, but it is. So what I'm going to do then is, as carefully as possible, trace my mirror. I wanted it to have a gold frame. And I want to get this part done and out of my way, because otherwise I will worry about it the whole time I'm trying to color. So that's if when I do a background on my own, like if I make one up, I generally try to do that before I do anything else. I'm just gonna get these little bits of hair, so I'm gonna be quiet for a second. Okay, that's where the rest of the circle is, sorry. I generally try to get these things done first, because if I don't want to use the word ruin it, if I make the background and I don't like it, then I'm not going to spend a ton of time finishing the image, if that makes sense. I'm going to finish it. It's going to look fine. It's just not, I'm not going to drive myself crazy trying to get a perfect coloring in after I've essentially ruined the background or made it not what I wanted. So I like to start with the background, get it out of the way, and then that way I'm not sad or displeased by the outcome of everything. Because I'm a really harsh critic of myself. So I have to move the page a little bit. I cannot do a straight up and down coloring on this because I can't. I just can't do it. All right, so there's our frame for our mirror, which I think is going to look pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to color the inside of the frame using a pale blue, so that, you know, we can have it look like a reflective surface. We need to have some kind of color to make it look like it was supposed to be a mirror, because we're just making this out of thin air. So I guess also this is how I color mirrors, which could be another part that you can get from this. She has a mirror behind her now. I'm using my Taotree markers, which are like the, I swear Taotree should have sponsored me for Halloween. I keep using them for everything this month. I'm also going to use another marker from another set because I'm looking for a very dark red. So I have R338 from Cali Art. This is one of the sets that I'm trying to finish up. So we're going to use this to create the wallpaper or the wall paint, however you want to see it. And by the end, it could really be wallpaper because I may add to it. And if I do, it'll just be like little designs like dots or something to give it some texture. I'm just outlining everything, which isn't great because you will get a little bit of a line from it, but I feel like it's better than me trying to avoid this with the broad tip of this pen, because I will be going in with that so I could go fast. Okay, so now we have our wall behind her, and then we're just going to get our baseboard colored. And that's really simple. Again, sorry I have to turn my page so much this time, but this is WG05. I'm just looking for like the lightest gray I have so that it kind of looks white, but not really. Because I don't like to leave it plain, like uncolored. So we're just going to come in here and do that. And then I have WG7. And I will color in the bottom layer of this floor. And there we have it. Our countess has a backdrop. And that's how I kind of like to think of it, as like, you know, she has a set. It's not just her standing on a thing. And I'm just crisping up, because that's the technical term, right? Crisping up my lines a little bit because they're messy. And they don't have to be perfect, but I can fix them a little bit. So I'll do that. And then I'm going to do the same with my red one, just so that they make me happy. Because I see like fuzz, you know, and I don't like it. I do like to do this ahead of time, like I said earlier. So this part is done. Now all we have left is our countess, because that's what I've been thinking of her as, like Count Dracula, but you know, a woman. So it's countess. And we're gonna add our marks to the mirror. Let me make sure this is just a Uniball Signo. And this is like me trying to show a reflective surface. And this does not have to be a big deal. If you come away and you think it looks like a mirror, then it's a mirror. So there, we've got some like reflective surfaces showing, and she's not showing up in the mirror. So then we get to color in the countess, and we're going to do that right quick. I'm going to do her with markers as well, but I'm also going to come back in with pencil at some point, because there are things I really want to play with her skin and with her clothing. I am right now just looking for the palest skin tone I can find, because I don't want her to be, you know, bright at all. So again, with the Taotrees, I am going in with number 139. She is wearing gloves. I'm glad I saw that before I just went to town. So she just has those little bits of arms. She has this little bit of a neck, and I've just noticed a small, tiny bit of mirror back there. Okay. And then we've just got her face, right? And her ear. Let's get her ear first. So this is my lightest skin tone. I still feel like, and excuse me if it's gross to you, but she's a vampire. I feel like this is still light or bright enough where she just fed. You know, she's got her blood in her skin coming back. And it's really pink looking when it lays down, but it's looking a lot lighter in the other areas, so just give it time to calm itself down. So there's her skin. I do want to color in the skulls, because there's quite a few of those. And I'm going to use a very light color for them as well. I've got number 134, and we're going to use that for every skull. I will be coming back in after the marker with pencils, just to shade everything out. But I wanted to get the background. Like I said, I prefer my backgrounds done before I do anything else. She has skulls on her sleeves. That is too cute. I'm going to leave those as part of her dress. Okay, this is a choker, so I did miss a few more skin parts. Let me get them back in. And that's the thing with these tiny little detailed drawings, at least for me. I have to go back a few times and get pieces. But those are done now. And where else do we have skulls? We have one in her earring. And we have one in her hair. And these are so small that I'm going over the white bits inside the eyes as well. I may come back with glitter for those or something else, but I'm not dealing with them at this time. I'm leaning hard on purple for her. And I don't I don't know why, but that's what I feel. I do want to get this red in on her lips and really not mess it up because it's so tiny and I've got this big marker. But yeah, the background I wanted to get done because that's the main thing I'm trying to show here. The rest of it is just me doing extra or playing around because I want to. So I'm going to go ahead and start on the dress. Okay, I've got out 82, 83, and 145. I'm going to go in with her hair on the number 145. It's my lightest purple that doesn't go into like a lavender pinky purple, which is not where I want to head with this. And I've mentioned in other videos where I've used the Taotrees, I'm really enjoying these. The only downside to them I've found for me is that there aren't a lot of reds. And I don't generally use a lot of red, but Halloween it seems like I use quite a bit. There's definitely none that are very dark. Alright, I just went over that ball in her umbrella by accident, which is fine, because we can get in there and fix that. Okay. So it seems like I don't have a lot to talk about today. I'm sorry. We'll see what makes it through editing. I may just speed a lot of this up since I'm not too chatty. Everything's too tiny for me to feel comfortable chatting like I'm gonna go outside the lines or mess something up. So, all right, now that we're down to these lower tendrils, I definitely want to use the thinner end of this because I feel like they're very tiny and thin. And I'm just coloring in the black of her hair as well, just to keep it looking even. Okay, the next purple I'm going to go in with is 83. And I am going to use this for a lot of what's left. Like the umbrella, parasol. Right? It's a parasol. She's indoors. She's staying out of the sun. I think that's what made me think she was a vampire. She has to stay out of that sun. So she has her parasol. While I was talking to David about doing this page, he went off on a tangent, as he does, which is like part of the most enjoyable reason that he's here, is that he just has ideas about a lot of things. But while we were talking about me coloring this page, he told me that there's a fan theory, fan fiction, I don't know. You know, like back in the day, the folklore is that vampires couldn't see themselves in mirrors, and that's always been rather interesting. Well, popular fan theory now is that it was because mirrors were backed with silver, and that if that was the case, that now in modern mirrors, vampires could see themselves because they're no longer backed with silver. It's like a natural element type thing. So that was interesting. So he told me that as I was talking about like doing this little mirror thing. You know, so I was like, well, then this isn't going to work. But with her period costume, it still works. So now at this point, you would have to decide which is more work for you. Because I want to keep these spider webs that are right under this sash in her dress, but I'm not going to try to color around them. They are so delicate. So what I'm going to do is take the thick end of my marker and just take them out. And then come back in with a white gel pen because, yeah, I think that it's still extra work, but I think it's easier than me trying to do it with this marker and go in and out of those webs. So you'll have to decide if you do this page, what is more work for you. I feel like I could draw those spider webs a lot easier than I could deal with this. So there we go. Okay, so she is fully dressed. I am going to go ahead and make life easy on myself and just color the umbrella handle and the balls coming off the end of it in gold. Sometimes you don't need to come up with a color for everything. And we'll get her little dangly part of her earring. There we go. And then that takes care of bleed through too. Yeah, CG3 is what we'll use, and that'll cover up that purple that I got everywhere. Because if I do them like this, they will be black-ish, because I'm going to come back in with my pencils and add shadow and everything. And I'm going to do the necklace with this and her gloves, because I don't feel like she would have white gloves. I feel like that would be too messy if you were feeding and you had white gloves. I mean, come on, that's just a complete mess. And I'm going to do these little, for right now, I did her lace with the gray, and I might go back and add the white to it instead. She is very pink, so we're going to have to work on that too. I am going to add some sort of background, not background, pattern to the wallpaper, because I feel like I need to do that. So for those of you who asked me about how I decide to do these backgrounds, this is quite literally how they get done. I just realized I missed a little part of the red up top. I just play, and then whatever happens, happens. But you can easily create these with stencils. You see, like, it was a ruler, a stencil, and now I want, the wallpaper is feeling like velvet to me, or like very lush. So I want to make it look like that flocked velvet wallpaper from back in the day. So I have this stencil. I don't know how to show it to you. I think you can see it pretty good. And this one always reminds me of wallpaper. And I'm trying to decide, I want to go this way. Okay. So I am going to directly do this onto the paper. I'm not going to draw them in with pencil. I picked out a brown marker because I think when it dries, it will look like just slightly darker than the red. And that will give me that velvet appearance that I'm looking for. And some of you might be thinking this is like a lot to go through for just a little picture, but sometimes this is the part that I enjoy the most. And then, you know, other times I can't be bothered. So it's just the level of stuff you want to do on a certain day, I guess. But I do think they look better than just coloring in the little floating woman. I finished up with the stencil, and I do think it looks like that flocked wallpaper, like the flocked velvet, so I'm very happy with it. I got out my Indra Creative pencils, honestly, because they're on my desk. So I'm going to do all my shading in with that. I thought about doing a drop shadow down here. And if I remember correctly, vampires also don't have shadows. So if I'm right, there's no reason for me to do that. So now I'm just going to go in and add a little bit more color to some of this. And I'm not going to go crazy with it. Maybe in some areas I will, but like these tiny little things, I just want to get a little bit of shading on. So I'm not going to call anybody out, but for my friends who tell me that they can't draw when they're talking about, I love your background, blah, 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 I just want to state that I didn't draw anything except one oval, and I had a guide. If you'll remember, we drew the outside oval, And all I did was draw that inside oval. Everything else was a stencil and a ruler. So there was no drawing of any kind. So you can do this. I would love to tell you the color numbers or names for these pencils, but they don't have any. So I've made up my own numbers and they don't make any sense for anybody else. So I'm just going in and flicking up and down, depending, from where they put the lines in her hair. Glyn Dent put the lines in her hair. And in these little areas here, I'm going to add just a little more where he's put the black. And I am leaving those tendrils that are hanging down her back completely alone. The areas are so small that anything I do will just make it all very dark. There. Okay, so we have hair. And again, with the bottom of the umbrella, I feel like he did everything there was to do. I am just going to add a little bit of color to certain areas of this that I feel like would be in the shadow. And I am not scientific or appropriately technical or anything. I just feel like that's where I feel there should be shadow. So there's shadow now. And then down here, I'm going to use it to color in the skulls on her dress, because I do feel like she had like cutouts or something put in to make them look like that. And I'm going to shade along the tip of her umbrella, because I feel like there'd be a little shadow there, and above her arm on both sides and inside that sleeve. Yeah, so like I said, not a lot of effort is going into this. It's just a little bit of shading, because this image is so small and thin. Anything extra would be almost too much. So now I'm getting under her belt of skulls. I feel pretty good about that. I'm going to attempt to add this as the shading to kind of like de-pink her skin. Because that's my technical word for today, de-pink. It's just a little bit, a lot pink. And I don't necessarily want that. We'll get some darkness on her eye. And again, if you've been watching for a while, you also know I'm not one to come in here and try to add cheekbones and a nose, because it's not my strong point, and I have not taken the time to even attempt to learn how to do that. And sometimes I actually just don't like it, because I feel like the artist drew this person this way. Like they wanted that little tiny button nose, you know? Not necessarily wanted it to be drawn in and have lines to it. I'm going to do a crease too. And this is looking like a hot mess right now, but I'm going to come back in with some real skin tones as opposed to this purple. And hopefully that'll even her out some. I'm going to use a little bit of like the brown that I used for the skulls, just to get some more, like I said, something a little bit more skin-like. And this is a hot mess, but that's okay. Even if it's a hot mess when I'm done, it's still going up on the channel, so you'll still see it, because because everybody makes a hot mess once in a while, right? And now I'm just going to try and get it blended in a little bit so she's not pink and she's not purple. And just get her some color. I did switch over to a different set of pencils for this one part. These are, I say these, I have two. These are Holbein's that I got in a Sketchbox subscription. And I have this and like a pink if I wanted to put pink back into her skin. I'm just trying to get closer to like a beige, but still have those dark undertones. I think I achieved it. We'll find out when I see it because I'm in the very bright light right now. So it's hard for me to see anything. And then I'm going to do the roses. And that is a gray that I'm using there. It's a very dark gray, but it is not black. I'm just going to add a little definition to these because I want the appearance of them as black, but I don't want them to be black because then they would just disappear into the hair. So just a little bit of extra work. And we should do the outside of her gloves. Sorry, I got really quiet. We should do the outside of these just to get a little bit of shading. Like I said, it is so tiny. Honestly, if you just wanted to be, here's some markers and it's done, I don't know that it wouldn't look any different than what I'm doing because everything's so tiny. Okay, so that is that. And then we have, I feel pretty good. I think I want that black back though. That was what, 34? Sorry, again, my numbers mean nothing. They're just for me. I just want to come in along these edges. Yeah, there we go. And just a little bit, like almost like a triangle at the sides. Okay, that's pretty good. Is that everything? Let's see. That appears to be everything except my spider web. I've got my Uniball Signo, and I'm not sure how this is going to work because I colored over it with a colored pencil, and that makes all my gel pens kind of weird. So I'm just going to go ahead and put these spider webs back in, and I will speed this part up. And because I added the white back in with her spider webs, I went ahead and did it on the lace that's at the top of her dress. And I just want to give her like a little sparkle in her eye if I can, because that's where I've got some pencil and it's not wanting to do it. I'm pulling right there. And I think I'm going to call it there and say she's done. This is my Countess from Glyn Dent's Tiny Little Horrors coloring book. And yeah, that's how I make a background on a page that has a floating object. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you found out that it's not that intimidating to just throw a background down. But until next time, friends, have yourselves a very colorful day. Bye.